Welcome to this week's episode of Eye of the Swarm, your deep dive into anything and everything related to Yellowjacket athletics with the Big Sound Matt Johnson. I am John Garver, Season 5, Episode 20.
I want to say 1. Is it 20 still?
Is it 20?
20 or 21?
20.1 or 21, I don't remember because I'm an idiot and I didn't hit record the last time
we've had a few.
I'm disappointed in myself. I'll wear it. I'll own it. I wasted a lot of people's time, but fortunately, you and our guest for the next segment are able to come back and do a.
You know me, I'm always
a recut.
I'm always willing to come back and do it. But yeah, I mean, mistakes happen. Yeah, I'm trying to find. This is just we've had we for the audience back home and our loyal viewers. We have a handful of episodes every year that we have to scrap for.
A handful?
Well, not a handful, but a couple.
A handful? Dude, it's happened twice.
Okay, yeah. There are episodes sometimes where we have to scrap it for various reasons, and this last one was we didn't record, but we were actually saying.
Yeah, so for the how does that happen? Well, great question. So our guest, who you'll see in the next segment, is retired women's hockey coach Dan Laughlin. He came in for the last episode, or this episode, the first time we tried to do it.
Which we intended to air about 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah, and we start chit-chatting about things, and then we sit down and we keep chit-chatting, and you kind of look around the room. Okay, the lights are on. We're good to go. Yep. You ready to go? Let's go. And so we went and never got back up to turn things on.
Right, yeah. We've had a few technical issues. We don't have a lot, considering how many episodes we've done, but they do happen, and we had one last time, so now we're back. Most of the technical
it wasn't a technical issue, Matt. All the technicals were fine. It was
I'm trying to
me.
Yeah, some mistakes were made. I'll just say that. Well,
yes, mistakes were made.
Yeah, mistakes were made, and
things got fouled up.
Unfortunately, we did not realize it until about 5 minutes after we got done. So, yeah, that's all I'll say about it. Mm-hmm. I do appreciate the fact that you furiously apologized to me immediately afterward when you found out what had happened. I had no idea.
I gave myself a good berating.
You did, and then you berated yourself in front of me, and then you berated yourself, I know, for the next couple of days. And then you berated yourself in a text that you sent to me later on. Right. So I was like, boy, he's really upset about this. But
I'm not happy with myself, but...
Yeah, but it's okay. We got it, and I told you that it was okay the whole time. I was never upset about it. But, We're doing it right by Dan now, and doing right by his career and the fact that he's retiring now. And
absolutely,
really looking forward to talking with him again. I always look forward to talking with Dano.
Me too.
Whether it was when he was coaching or whether we were working together on game management stuff a number of years back, or any old time, just seeing him at the golf outing or wherever I ran into him. Talking to Dano is always a fun time. He's a very, very good man, and. So I didn't mind when you said, "Can we do it again? Go talk to Dano some more." It's like, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with talking with Dano again. That's not going to bother me.
So some of it's going to seem a little more polished,
yeah,
I guess, because we did have a dress rehearsal.
Yeah, and it's going to be a little bit more, I think, of a formal interview.
Right.
But and we don't do a lot of that on our roundtables, but this one's going to be a little bit more polished because we have had a dry run on this. So, but what a career he had. 300 wins speaks for itself.
Yep.
And wow.
Yep.
Wow. In terms of Yellowjacket sports news, not a lot. Everybody's done. Yeah. Everybody's done for the year.
It's all done.
Softball won their tournament title. That gives UWS a grand total of 15 trophies this year from the conference.
It's insane.
It's a crazy amount.
It's a crazy number.
It's a crazy number for the year. Baseball came up just a little short because otherwise they would have had a 16th.
Yep. Got to the conference championship series there.
Yeah, for the second time in 3 years.
Yeah.
And
I think the arms got a little tired.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a lack of depth of pitching. The pitching in the first 2 days was outstanding.
Yep.
And then they just ran out of real estate there. They were missing one of their top arms. He was shut down for the year. But yeah, I can't really complain about either team. And then they went to the regional. Softball team did. Dropped a couple of games there. I will say this: I watched the game against Central. That Central team is good. They're real good, and they're a bit of a different looking squad. They ended up winning the regional because they don't hit for power.
Right.
They're very much a small ball team, and they just small ball you to death. and they small balled us, and they small balled Whitewater, and they small balled Bethel.
Yep.
Right in a row.
Yeah.
And that's just how they do it. They're real fast, and we didn't have a lot of errors, but congratulations to Coach Melissa Fracker.
Yep,
and
it was
her
a good
squad
run.
on a good year. I didn't realize it, but Central's head coach is the winningest coach of all time.
I didn't know that until we got to the
George
regional.
Bears, yeah.
Yep, and then they talked about it a little bit.
Yeah,
I was
and
like,
he's
holy
a
cow.
4-time national champion.
Yeah.
At Central. I mean, he's the real deal, and his team plays like it.
Yeah.
And but it was fun. Larissa Snyder hit a bomb one of the games. Zoe Thompson hit a bomb as well. Mm-hmm. So there were some good moments there.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Those teams are just really, really well polished.
Yeah,
really well coached, and it was a
tough group to get through.
Yeah, it's a tough group to get through. And like I said, Central won it. They were the favorites going in.
Yeah,
and they took care of business. But congratulations on a great year for baseball as well. They came up just a little bit short, but everybody else is pretty much wrapped up for the year.
Yeah, men's golf nationals.
Mm-hmm.
They wrapped up last week. Didn't make the cut.
Yep.
I don't think that's completely unexpected.
No,
not at all. Going against teams that play every single day, and you take 6 months of your year off. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then track.
But they had a real good showing, though.
Yep.
I think. All things considered.
Yeah, and track and field got done, within the last couple of weeks as well. So
yeah, Nate Ullman moved into the top 25 in the shot put, and he had a really good outdoor season. It was, they take 22. He was 25th in the country, so he was knocking on the door.
Right.
Just couldn't quite get there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, a great year. I can't remember the last time we had 15 pieces of team hardware from the league. I don't think that's ever happened before.
It has never happened before.
And it looks like we're going to win the All Sports Trophy again. That'll be 3 years in a row.
Yeah, that is. It is official.
Okay.
That'll be record this on a Wednesday. We'll probably air this on a Friday. It's going to come out on the Thursday.
Okay.
So that is official that the Jerome Cruz Trophy will stay in Superior for another year.
Yep, that's 3 in a row now. I'm going for 4 next year, and I can't believe it, but we've got about 2.5, 3 months before the fall athletes report in, and this last fall we had 5
Can we at least
teams.
take a break, Matt? Let's have a little bit of summer here before we start.
But that's the calendar
Yep.
that we're looking at, and so you've got and that's when all the teams come in, and UWS teams in the last fall won 5 trophies from the league. So it's actually I think it was. Let me think about that. I think it was actually 7 if you count the tournament trophies from the last.
It was, yeah.
It was 7.
Count them.
So 7 pieces of hardware came from the fall teams last year. So we'll see if they can continue that kind of performance. But we've got 2.5 months to try to catch our breath a little bit here and catch up on some stuff that we've been negating. And this is one of the later times that we've done a podcast. I think we haven't really done one this late. Usually when we're doing them this late, it's because we're talking with athletic director Nick Bursick, kind of summing up the year and how things went. But with Daniel's retirement, this is fitting.
Yeah,
and he deserves it. So
absolutely,
I'm more than happy to come in, even with all the students off campus now, and with the summer calendar, as far as the school goes, officially now having kicked off. So. Yeah, unless there's anything else you want to add, Mr. Garver, before we get to talking to
I've
Dano?
got nothing. I'd rather talk to Dano.
All right. Yeah, me too. Me too.
With that, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll have retired women's hockey coach Dan Laughlin join us on the Roundtable segment. You are watching Eye of the Swarm.
Find your passion. Find your people. Find your purpose. Find your superior.
We're back on Eye of the Swarm, and we are very happy to have recently retired women's hockey coach Dan Laughlin back with us. And like I said in the open, it's Dan Laughlin Retirement Episode 2.0 because... I am an idiot because I did not hit record on the first time we did this. So if some of the answers seem a little polished, we had a dry run a couple of weeks ago on this. So,
but do you consider this appearance 2.5 since Jada was with him the first time?
No. That's why I specify retirement episode 2.0.
Right, yeah. But overall appearance, this is like 2.5.
Yes. So
Dano's he's breaking records for appearances on Eye of the Swarm here. I think this vaults him right up into the top.
You're pretty much your co-host now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that your retirement gig? You're going to co-host the Swarm with us?
Let's get a plaque with who has the most visits on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to start going back and seeing how many guests we've had and who've had the most.
That wouldn't be hard. We have a webpage that has it all on there.
Yeah, exactly. But Dan's getting right up there now. This is, 6 or 7,
Yeah,
I guess.
probably.
Yeah. So
At any rate, how's retirement?
It's going good. Not much has changed from the last time we were here, but it's it is. It's going good. Having a good start to the summer.
Is it true that when people say you'll know when it's time, and is that true? When did you know that, okay, this is it? It's time for me to move on and give this to somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been in my mind probably the last couple of years. You never lose that passion of the game and just the game days, the behind the bench. Like, you always want to do that every day. But I think it's just the recruit. There's so much else that goes into the game that just takes so much of your time and energies, and as you get older, those things again, the passion was always there. I never lost that. I always wanted to win, but doing the little things that help, that winning ingredient, you reflect back, and it's just like, yeah, I'm maybe not doing as like I used to do that. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of plays a little part into it.
Coaches have a lot to do that does not involve coaching. And
especially at this level.
Yeah, and so I'm not sure everybody completely understands that. I mean, it's not like you guys spend, 8 hours just coaching your team. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into being a coach. I mean, you got to set up travel. You got to set up, hotels if you're on the road for an overnight. You got to, and
meals.
Nobody
thinks about that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, making sure all your kids are on track to graduate. There's a lot of little things behind the scenes, and it gets to be a lot. I mean, anytime if I would invite anybody to come up to the department and spend even a week with the coaches and see everything that they do during the week, because the coaching part of it is actually just one part of it. I mean, game planning, film sessions, all that good stuff. Getting on the bench, like you said, Dano, setting out lineups and lines and combinations and all that kind of stuff. That's actually, when you look at it, it's a very small part of what coaches do. Coaches may be your title because that's technically, you're judged on how well your team does at a certain level and how your athletes perform. But man, there's a lot more that goes into it. It's almost, you're a coach, you're a general manager, it's everything. And it can be a grind. I'm impressed by some of the energy levels that I've seen from the coaches up here, because it is a grind, especially during their season, and it gets tiring.
No, it is. And like I talked about, all the coaches here, they have a passion to win, and when you have that passion, like, you're going to do whatever it takes to get those results. So it's that ongoing passion that just it's a wheel that never ever turns off. And I think every coach, you guys know it. Like, you think about it all the time. Mm-hmm. And there comes a point, last time we were talking again, about retirement and getting away from the game now is shutting that wheel off.
Yeah,
and
right. Just being able to watch it and not have to analyze and decide what combinations work better.
And just, again, not only just the game, but everything else that goes into the process of putting together a great season, or it is a grind mentally. Mm-hmm. It is physically, you can do it, but just that mental, you're always competing against other coaches, other teams, whether it's recruiting, whether it's whatever, you're just always competing.
And it's become a 12-month thing. There really is no off season. Recruiting goes 12 months. Oh, yeah. And now, with the transfer portal being an active part of college sports, you have to spend just as much time recruiting your current players as you do prospective players, don't you?
Yeah, that's a whole new change in how all sports are being laid out in college now. So, that's added a whole new web kind of into the recruiting scene. So it is. It's tough, and again, it's for my decision, for our family and everything, was just time shut it down.
I'd say after 20 plus years, I think you've earned it.
Well, yeah. I mean, but again, it's still you know. I was just down at Westman again before I came here, and you know, they're starting to put the ice in. You're going, oh boy, here, you know.
Yeah.
And
the ice has that certain smell
when
it's being put in the building, so you're getting a whiff of that. And it's like, oh, it's here.
It is. It's like the perfect cologne. You know, but, so I mean, again, you're going to miss those things always. But there's also the bigger piece, which is, you know, being with family and everything too.
I want to ask you about Coach Simon coming in. Obviously, tremendous player. You know, one of the best D3 players in women's
ever
college hockey ever.
Yeah.
Clearly the best player ever to play at Hamlin. You know, I know you've chatted with her, you know, since she's been, you know, officially named now the head coach and has been introduced at the press conference earlier and everything. I'm just wondering, like, what the tenor of those conversations has been like with you and her.
Yeah, we just, in fact, I just spoke with her. That's why I was a little late getting here. You know, just going over next year's roster. She's just, you know, trying to get whatever bits and pieces of information she can about the, you know, returning team and players. You know, and just some questions about, again, like the things that no one else really talks about, you know, like equipment and stuff like that. So, you know, just trying to help her, you know, get more knowledge to help her season for next year and years to come.
Let's go back to the very beginning. How did you get into the coaching field? Even before you came here, how did you get into coaching?
Yeah, you know, telling that story again, but I was in Grand Forks, North Dakota at the Air Force Base working construction, and Nellie gave me a call, and at the time, Dean Reed was the head women's hockey coach, and he asked if I wanted to help out, and you know, I think he always knew in my heart I always wanted to, you know, get back in the game, and so I did. I said, well, I can't walk off the job, you know, I've committed to that. So he goes, no, just, you know, how about the fall? I go, let's go. And so talked with Dean and everything, and Rodney Graham was the other assistant. So it was a good group. We had a fun year, and that was the start. That was the start of, you know, getting involved with the women's team. And then, of course, Dean, I believe he moved back home to
they went to Vancouver.
And, you know, and we met together, and he goes, hey, I'd like to, you know, pass the torch on to you. And like I said, Garves, I'll never forget that day. It was awesome. It was a great day, and I just thank Dean Reed for giving me that opportunity and for all these years. So between Nellie and Dean, those two are the ones that really got the career started, so I owe them a lot of gratitude.
Prior to that, you did some coaching in the junior hockey ranks on the men's side, so talk a little bit about that.
I did. And go back a little further, I was assistant coach for 2 years at the Superior High School with the boys team. Won 2 state championships. It was a really good group they had there. And then the younger Steve Nelson was at Sioux City as an assistant, and then he went on with Colorado College, and again, he knew that I wanted to kind of get in the game, and so he introduced me to the coach there, and I ended up getting a pretty nice job there. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
That was getting back in that junior scene is something that was just great.
Yeah.
I love juniors, but that was short lived as the coach there at Sioux City got fired, and you know, and kind of how it worked is you follow the coach that brought you in. So I kind of went from there, and then went out to from there I went to Madison with the AAA midget program there with Bob Suter, and got to be head coach there, and really enjoyed my time there. But it was just you know, the money situation just wasn't working out. So yeah, that's when I kind of started the construction, and then the phone call came from Steve Nelson to help out here, and here I am.
What are some of the differences between coaching men versus women, especially in a sport like hockey?
I always treated it kind of the same, really. I mean, the physical part, you know, Garves, you and I kind of play that physical game, so I think that's where I always like with the guys, like we were always physical, mm-hmm. and mean and tough and gritty, but I think I even brought that over to the women's side, and again, just talking with Bree, before I came here, I said I think our team was probably in the top 5 in penalty minutes every year of my career in the nation. So I think that kind of spilled over a little bit, but really, I didn't find a big difference, like with the players' characters or it was I walked. I just had integrity with it all, through it all, with the men's and the women's teams I've coached, and person's a person, really. They just want to be treated fairly and well, and I hope I did that throughout my career.
So Dean leaves, hands the torch to you, and you were off and running because all of a sudden you had that special group that came in. They were freshmen during your first year, and you were off and running. It was there really wasn't much of a transition. It was we were competitive and winning games right from the get-go.
Yeah, and it's I'll never forget. I went up to that tournament in Ontario and came back. I recruited I want to say 14 to 16 players that year, all freshmen, and now we went from worst to first that year, beating Point for the league championship, and yeah, it was fun, man. Those were the years where you just, again, and I think that's where Bree's at. She's in that early part of her career. I think she's gonna build that program where it should be again, and but yeah, those were good years.
Yeah, it isn't always the case for a coach when they come in that they have, I don't want to say necessarily a running start. A lot of times it takes some time, but it sounds like with you brought in that really good group to start, and then for about 10 years on, you had one of the best D3 hockey programs for women in the country.
Yeah.
And I came in right in the middle of that run, and I always was impressed with how well the team was organized, and the fact that you always seem to have somebody who could put the puck in the back of the net.
Yeah.
On those teams, and that leads us into a couple of players. Erin Kegley being one who,
Absolutely.
one of the greatest women's athletes in school history, maybe the greatest one. Just touch on her a little bit because I know that she holds a special place in terms of being a two-sport athlete here, and being not only that, just being a really, really good athlete in two sports.
Yeah, no, I mean, Kegs was, whenever you have that top forward on your team, it's just. It's always there, and she was always there. She showed up every game. She could finish like no other. And, she's just a great athlete, and her abilities were natural. I mean, she was just absolutely gifted as a hockey player and an athlete in general. I mean, she was just that special player for us, and there were others too. I mean, the Kaylee Martinsons, she was, another one that was just a threat every time she was on the ice, and so many more, at that superstar kind of level, but also all the ones that, that are the forgotten ones, that without them, maybe they don't have their careers they had. So, just so many great players, but having those, the superstars, the All-Americans, that's a special thing to have.
Yeah, and she's a four-timer.
Yeah.
In hockey.
Yeah.
It was also an All-American in softball, which, no offense to the hockey world, but it's harder to get All-American status in softball just because
there's more teams.
There's more teams, more players.
Yeah.
And I mean,
just a natural
she's
athlete.
leading the WIAC in hitting and everything. That just like you said, a gifted natural athlete.
Yeah, just a natural athlete, and those people don't come along very often.
No.
We've had a few of them in my time here. Sally Linsmeyer was one. I'm trying to think about others. I mean, I'm sure there are others that I'm negating to mention right now, but it's hard to kind of put into words what a natural athlete like that can do for your program. Not just one, but two. And usually those kind of athletes are the ones who transform your program in a way, because they sort of, for them, it's just playing ball or playing pucks.
Right.
That was the thing I noticed about Sally Linsmeyer, was for her, when she whether she was playing softball or soccer or basketball here, it was just playing ball or playing, that was all it was for her. And that was her mindset always. And I don't know if Erin had the same, because Erin was before my time. But when you have an athlete like that, it's easy also for the rest of the team to kind of gel around that a little bit, because they know in the back of their mind, we've got kind of an ace in the hole here.
Right.
We can kind of relax and play our game a little bit more. So that's special. I want to ask you about the Frozen Four team. Because I know you guys have been knocking on the door for a while, and finally to get there. What was that experience like for you going to the Frozen Four?
Never forget it. I mean, those are the times you'll never forget. A great team, very, very. The work ethic they had was off the charts. And going back a little bit in our previous conversation,
right?
It's no secret, even in today's game, NHL on down, if you have that, superstar forward and a superstar goaltending, chances are you're gonna be one of the last teams playing at the end of the season. So I was very, very blessed to have the goaltending and just the superstars, that one or two players up front, that could put it in the back of the net every time, and then have that just brick wall goaltending for you, to shut down sometimes the better teams. And that's what you need if you want to, compete for conference and national championships.
Yeah, but that group, it was unique because you had two
Yeah.
goaltenders. That was an embarrassment of riches there because you had two goaltenders that were All-American, two goaltenders that are in the Hall of Fame. I mean,
and one of them was also a two-sporter,
right?
And Melissa Kunzelman, she was a two-sporter. So,
right.
I mean that's a rarity. But you've had a plethora.
Oh, yeah.
I think is where we're going here. Mm-hmm. That's a good word for it too. Plethora of really good goalies over the years.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's I always, goalies are just like the pitchers or quarterbacks. I mean, to me, that's where it starts. If any team, I don't care if it's college, NHL, juniors, whatever, if they are winning at a high level, it's probably because they got goaltending to
they can backstop them to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was with Ricky Nespor, Melinza Kunzelman, Shanley Peters. I mean, even Rose Beeman this past couple for so many good goaltenders throughout the years, and that helps the wins right there.
It certainly does. It certainly does.
Was it a little disappointing that first group you brought in with all those players that you talked about, 14, 16 players, whatever it was? It was disappointing that group never did get to that big stage.
Yeah, I mean, you want that for all the players, but I think they also know that they were the foundation that was able to get teams to that next level. So, they won conference championships, and I mean, I think like the first 2-3 years, that foundation was so solid, and it allowed the program, myself, to keep building upon that foundation, and it did.
The players want to come play for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They see success. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of. I mean, we've seen it here. Once you get to that stage where you're hanging a banner every year, it doesn't have to be a national championship banner. It can be a banner for, a tournament title or a regular season title or whatever. Anytime you're hanging a banner, you've done something pretty special.
Yeah.
And so when you start hanging those banners on a regular basis, more good athletes say, hey, Superior, might be an intriguing place to look, and it follows that blueprint across the board.
Right.
That's how it goes.
Right.
And so I mean, I think most people understand that concept, but that first group, they laid the groundwork. So when you finally get over the hump and you get to that Frozen Four, you say, this is the result of a lot of years of kind of plugging away and getting the right kids in.
And to get there, you kind of had to dispatch the nemesis in Gustavus too. So that might have been the biggest game in the history of the program. Maybe I'm wrong, but talk to me about the feeling of we're going to win this thing.
Yeah.
We're winning this thing
because they're still they're still the program.
Oh yeah,
I think in the Midwest. And
no, we had a lot of nice games with them, throughout the years. But that one was it was down there, and of course, winner that goes to Frozen Four, and every game we played down there, I think we got outshot by 20 shots. I mean, and sometimes
legitimate, sometimes not.
But usually at the end of the game, it was like the shots were heavily in favor to Gustavus. But again, that goes to our goaltending, and they kept us in that game.
Yeah.
I think Gina Baranzelli had a shorthanded goal there that really put the dagger in them, gave us a 2-1 lead, I believe, and then it was just that team defense. We really good team defense, obviously great goaltending, but we had really good team defense that year as well. And we just shut them down, and it was a great feeling.
Well, Gustavus, like I said, they've sort of been the nemesis of everyone.
Yeah.
And the reason, even River Falls won the national championship this year, but it was Gustavus the year before.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone, I think, is sort of used Gustavus as sort of the measuring stick, in terms of the West for sure, in terms of, teams. And yeah, anytime you can beat them on their own rink, man, that's, especially with something like that on the line, that's an achievement.
Yeah.
Because they don't lose much.
Right.
No.
And some years it feels like they don't lose at all.
Right.
So it's, that must have been extremely special.
It was just for the team too, and to see it like in their eyes and in their tears, that day was just it. That's the greatest, I think, as a coach, is just, it's hard, like you said, like some of the players that didn't get to that point, you wish they would have, and of course can't do it every year, but just to see, the accomplishment of getting there.
Yeah.
In their faces was that's what you coach for. You want the best for them, and I'm sure they'll never forget it either.
That's kind of a put you on the spot kind of question, but we've talked about the stars.
Right.
Let's talk about some of those glue players, some of those unsung hero kind of players that in your time may have gotten the recognition from you and the behind the scenes stuff, but were underappreciated by the masses for the most part. Who are some of those players over your time?
Yeah, I mean, again, so many. Like a Jasmine Pollock, a Tegan Kassan. Even back like when Kegs was here, we had Ashley Jenkins, who was probably was on every assist with Kegs. So I mean, it like players like that. So many. Danny Schultz, Katie Graham, great defenseman for us. There's too many to.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get 20
could ask
plus
me,
years.
right?
You
could ask me this question every day, and I would still, my mind would start just going over A to Z. There's thousands of them, really, and that's who we were. I mean, we were. You had your star players, your great goaltenders, and then that's kind of was, I guess my formula was, you go find that first line that can just score goals for you.
Yep.
Get a goaltender that can stop goals for you, and then just build a really gritty, tough rest of the team. And I think was kind of my formula.
I'm a blue-collar hockey team. Yeah.
That was kind of it. So, I mean, all those middle blue-collar, gritty players, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, and, there are teams that, I know we've seen at D3 women's level that play with a lot of flair and skill. Gustavus is one of them, where they're just very skilled. Got really good players up and down the rink. But there's something, I think, special about watching a blue-collar team, though, that's really, really just well-drilled. And really is you look at them and you say, wow, they're really well coached. Mm-hmm. And they seem like a really, really good unit because, those super skilled players there aren't as many of them as there are of the blue collar ones, but you got to find the right blue collar players to kind of fit your mold.
Right.
And for a long time, that's exactly what you did.
Yeah. No, and it was tough. I mean, it still is hard to get, again, talking with the portal and everything else, and Gus Davis and the private schools, and River Falls, who is they're kind of like Alabama. They get the first pick, and everyone else gets what's left. So you do have to rely on those blue collar players, and again, work ethic will, smart hard work will always, it never loses. It'll keep you in every game. But again, having that goaltending and that. Having those special players up front too, just that one line that can just, absolutely, they're going to go out there and get you, 2 to 3 points a night.
Makes all the difference.
That was that was my recipe through all these years.
On the men's side, we had a connection up in Western Canada and Calgary in particular for a very long time. Mm-hmm. You had your pipeline out of Manitoba.
Yeah.
And a lot of the players you've mentioned here today have come through that pipeline from Manitoba.
Right.
How did that come about?
I started right away. I went to that tournament in Ontario, and then I started just going west a little bit, and I went to a showcase in Manitoba, and really impressed. I was the only coach there. There was no D1. I was like the only coach at this showcase, so that's how long ago it was. But
Doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
all of a sudden, I think within the next 2 years, I probably had 12 players from Manitoba on the roster, and again, that just starts that pipeline when they go back home and they're telling, hey, I love playing at Superior, and it's a great school, and all of a sudden you get phone calls, and now you're watching more players from Manitoba, and it was great. I had the parents up there, help me with the recruiting. They were, obviously you can only go up there once a year or something, so they were always looking out and giving me tips with that. So great pipeline. And once you develop that, it really can aid in your success, and it did. That was big for us.
Yeah, pipelines are important.
Yeah. And like Nelly, like you said, with up in Calgary there, that was huge.
Especially the D3 level. I mean, at D1, it's a little bit more, can the kid play? I don't care where he's from, just bring him in.
Right.
But when you go to D2 and D3, now you're looking at, do I have a connection, in the area? And it becomes much more relationship.
Can they afford it?
Yeah, can they afford it? It becomes a much more kind of a relationship building situation rather than, because at D1 they have the full ride thing, so they can hand out scholarships and just say, hey, I'm going to give you a full scholarship if you want to just come play for me. And a lot of kids are, sign me up, man. If I'm, but at D2 and D3 it's different. I mean, you have to really work at it.
Yeah.
Because there's financial aid packages, and can they afford to come, and can they get, especially the Canadian kids, getting across the border and making sure that it's good with the United States. Being a foreign player, and there's just a lot to it.
Right.
That I don't know if people really understand how much goes into that, but it's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always, and I told you this before, Garver, like I always loved getting Canadian players because everyone else was going after like the Minneapolis players. Like one player would have 10 coaches from Falls, Eau Claire, Gustavus, St. Thomas, all these, but nobody knew. All of a sudden I'd show up with 7 Canadians the next year, and they're like, who are these players?
Yeah, who are these kids that are,
so that like they never knew what to expect next, and it was great that way. It was really fun.
You were one of the coaches that got honored last week at the banquet for your 300th win. Great note to go out on, with your final victory being number 300. Before you got to go up, though, the tribute video from former players. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, you got me there. That was pretty special. That was really special. Something I'll never forget. And again, you reflect, right? But then when you see that, it brings back a lot, and it was great, Garv.
It's validation of job well done too.
Right. Yeah.
The stuff you might not always keep an eye on because you're so worried about next year's budget, getting my schedule, getting buses and all that. You kind of lose track of the fact that you make a pretty significant impact on the lives of these young people.
And you know what, I think sometimes when you reflect back, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but you almost remember the bad things more than you do you know what I mean? And you're I wish I could have or handled this situation better. And
hindsight's always 20/20. That's the thing. Yeah.
And then you see something like that, and it brings the reflection back on, just the good stuff and the fun we had, and the winning. But sometimes as coaches, you think. I don't know if it's just me, but you think about maybe the things you could have done better.
Right.
Or the, that one loss, or, how, I don't know. And so seeing that, hearing it with you guys, it helps to bring back the good stuff.
It was good to see how many players, former players came out too. Like I was really, I saw the video, and I remember you said to me, we're making a tribute video for Dano, and already we've gotten pretty good responses from a lot of the players, and I was like, well, he deserves it. And I wasn't sure how many there were going to be, but there was quite a few.
Well, they just kept coming and coming and coming, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
The response that we got, and even after, we still had players going, "Hey, is it too late for me to do this?"
Yeah,
yeah. That's why we asked for it 3 weeks ago. So sorry about that, but it was, to me, it was just spoke volumes about.
Yeah.
Again, the impact you had on them.
The names of the players that, like we haven't mentioned here, the Ashley Olsons and the Katie Graham. We talked about Katie Graham, but Haley Adair and Kaylee Martinson doing theirs together.
Right.
That kind of stuff is really cool. Because that those friendships came about in the program, and those kind of relationships came about, because of your program.
And again, when the wheel's going and you're, another season next year, you can never take time to reflect because you're always just looking towards next season. And so it's challenging because you're still, even retired, for however, couple months, whatever, you're still kind of,
right.
The wheel's going, it's slowed down, but it's still kind of going. And every day you're starting to reflect back. And again, that was awesome to see.
Yeah.
So, what is retirement? What is that going to look like for Dan Laughlin?
I don't know. Jill and I think we just kind of take the summer and just kind of pump the brakes a little bit. Jill's oldest boy is getting married this summer, so we'll enjoy that with family. A lot of family stuff here, and just the home life. I think and that's what I love best. So I think for now, just till fall, just kind of relax. Don't really think about much, and then in the fall, start planning out what really,
I have one more question for you in that regard. Are you someone who likes to travel? Are you someone who's looking to travel around a little bit now that you've got extra time on your hands?
It's funny because my wife and I we went to Florida, just right after school, or right after May or April, and we love it. We love the travel, but then it's always nice when you get back home,
right?
And it's like we always can't wait to get back home,
right?
And so I think for us, we like traveling, like to the North Shore, a lot of camping and stuff like that. We'll do that, but yeah, I mean we like to travel, but it's not like
a big thing for you.
No.
Okay, yeah, because some people that's what they want to do. When they get done, there's I'm going to see all the places I've.
No, and it's every 2 months they're getting on a plane to go someplace.
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we're not gonna go tour Europe or anything.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever asked you that question. I was always curious as to what you were like, if you were somebody who's more of a homebody or, the nice thing is that when we say traveling, you can actually go to the North Shore here and. That's easy.
Yeah.
Because people travel to get to here.
Right.
To go see the North Shore. So it's sort of like our own little place we can travel, quote unquote travel. But we happen to live with a great natural resource where we really don't have to if we don't want to.
Right.
And just really enjoy the surroundings because it's one of the things that I've noticed, and I don't know if other people do it as much as I do, but I really, at times, and I regret it, take Lake Superior in this area for granted.
Mm-hmm.
As in the fact that, there are a lot of people who come here just to see what we have on a daily basis. And that's pretty cool.
Well, anytime you're on a search committee on this campus, universally every person, no matter if it's a coaching position or an admissions position, will mention how much they love the lake.
Yeah.
And I always chuckle because you love it until you are here in January and that wind is humming off the frozen lake.
Right.
You're not going to love it so much then. But no, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
We do take it for granted here.
Yeah. And it's we know it's going to be there. But like I said, there are people I see people from all over the globe coming here to see Lake Superior, and it really at times, even when I'm hectic and I'm busy and stuff, it makes me step back and say, I'm going to go down to the beach two blocks from my house and look at the lake.
Yeah,
that's just what I'm going to do now.
Yeah,
and
I think we enjoy. I mean, I always say there's nothing better than Minnesota or Wisconsin summers, and then fall gets here and it's like.
I love fall.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
and then the first snow falls, and you're like, I love winter, and then all of a sudden it's spring, and you're like, all right, summer's coming, what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's
a beautiful area.
It is, and we'll always be up here, and so
yeah.
You're gonna probably have a little more time now to reintroduce yourself to a deer stand, to an ice fishing shack, those kinds of things?
Yeah, I'll be listening to a lot of men's games out on Lake St. Croix ice fishing, so that'll be fun.
I think maybe at some point this winter you should be like a guest analyst on a broadcast with me.
I'd love to do that.
Start the wheels going again a little bit.
Yeah, get that wheel going.
Get that wheel going a little bit.
No, I think that'd be great. I love listening. I'm a radio guy. Like
Same.
I prefer to listen to all sports on radio. I don't know why. Maybe you can do stuff. You can be in the garage working around or whatever, and you got the game on. Or I love radio, and I always have. And
well, you're talking to the right audience for that. Because two of us are radio guys.
Big time.
Yeah. So
big time.
Yeah. So well, I mean, keep listening to us, Dano. That's all I'll say.
Please, we have one listener out there.
Yeah, exactly. And you can critique me and John because a lot of times we'll do women's games together. So
right.
We'll have fun with that too. Hopefully at some point in the future. But congratulations on the career.
Thank you.
I know I've congratulated you both on air and off air, but it's well deserved. So I'm going to keep doing it. So
Thank you. I appreciate
congratulations on the career, and
absolutely.
Don't be a stranger. Come back and see us as much as you can, and
thank you for coming back to do this a second time.
Yeah, exactly.
Some idiot forgot to push the buttons.
No.
Appearance 2.5. Overall, appearance number 2 for this. Yeah.
No, but thank you guys for all the years and the interviews, and I always enjoyed the pregame stuff. I love that, and just putting the women's game on the radio. It's awesome, and that's come a long way with that.
It has.
You guys are a big part of that, so thank you.
Yeah, well, it's been my pleasure.
Mine too.
And I plan on doing it for the foreseeable future. So
Yeah.
That'll do it for this week's episode of Eye of the Swarm. We want to thank Yellowjacket retired women's hockey coach Dan Laughlin for coming in second time. Apologies again. For Dano, for the Big Sound Matt Johnson, I am John Garver, and thank you for watching Eye of the Swarm.